welcome to Tocca Talks, my dear friend and old colleague, Jan Ammann.
Hey, Victoria.
Hey, handsome. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm right now in Cologne at the moment, and I'm here in my little garderobe because that's my little safe zone, and shooting for television.
Yeah, you told me that that's what you're doing now during the pandemic. That's fantastic, though, that you can do that.
Well, that's actually it's amazing that it actually happened because I was supposed to be on tour, and we started the tour in March, and I think we premiered on the 4th of March. On the 5th, it was all gone.
Yeah.
And from that day on, it was a very slippery slope.
Yeah.
Like for everyone. Yeah.
For everyone. Yeah. I mean, I have not worked for almost a year now. So it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. But let's not talk about that. That's boring and horrible. And so I would like to start from the beginning, really, because you started out with classical singing, right?
Yes, I did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how come you started singing in the first place? And how come you chose classical singing?
For some reason, I was always a big fan for classical music. I love the style. I love the depth between, or the density between sound and word. And especially when you interpret Schubert, Schumann, Strauss, Mahler. It's such an amazing work to have a piece of artwork from like Goethe or Eichendorff, and then you have a composer like Richard Strauss, and you combine those two qualities into one, and it's such a melting and wonderful experience to when you finally get those notes together and get those words together and just live and breathe the content of what you're supposed to do and supposed to sing. It's just breathtaking. And that was always something that was important to me. There was always something that was interesting. And so that's why I actually decided to start singing. And my school was very positive regarding music education. And so they supported me. And I was very lucky, I must say, to get into the position to actually have started to study music. My parents loved it. They said, like, Jan, come on, go for it. And you love it, so do it.
How old were you when you started?
I actually started quite late. It was over 20.
Oh.
19, 20. That was actually quite late. But then I went to Munich to the Hochschule für Musik und Theater, for the University for Music and Arts and Opera. And I did that, and I was getting frustrated. I was getting frustrated because in Germany, I don't know how it is in Sweden, but in German, the schools, they're always very good. They're very, they have a very good, they look good from the outside, let's put it that way. And then you have teachers who actually still are singing and are still, at the Met or somewhere, but you never get a lesson. And that was the thing that was bothering me. I never got my lessons because my singing teacher was in the Mailander Scala and everywhere. And I was like, okay, so actually I moved to Munich in order to study the art of singing. And actually what I do study is theory, piano, solfège, history, acting, dancing, all those fun things, except for theory and history.
Right.
But the singing, I was lacking singing. And I felt like I'm never get done with this. I'm never going to be finished. I'm going to be 35 when I'm done. And then it might be that I'm scared on stage because I never really did know how it feels. I did know how it feels on stage, but it might be that I get the fright.
Right.
Who knows? And so I started to get a little creative with my in my life, and I actually auditioned for LUDWIG in Füssen.
Well, yes. So, okay. So my first big job outside of Sweden was in LUDWIG in Füssen. And I believe I was there for at least like 3 months or something before you showed up.
Yes. You were freshly there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was there from the beginning, from the world premiere of that show. and I played Sissy, and then you came in like, I don't know, 3-4 months into the run as our new Ludwig. And I remember you walking into the cafeteria and everyone was like, who's that tall guy? Like,
Oh my
whoa.
God.
Yeah. And do you remember that you lived at my apartment for a while?
Yes, because
You didn't have anywhere to live.
I went because I got the offer, I got the call from them. They said, we would like to have you here ASAP. And I was like, oh, that sounds lovely. So I drove there and I had no clue where to stay. I thought like maybe I'm just gonna, go to a little hotel, whatever. But at that time it was difficult, and I went into the cafeteria and I talked about, I don't know where I'm supposed to stay. I have no plan, I have no room, I don't know where to go. And then you said like,
and I was like, hello, you can stay in my place. But it was actually because I had a rather big apartment in Füssen. So I had an extra room, and I mean, coming from Sweden, and it was all new to me as well. So it wasn't like I had 10,000 friends in Füssen. So it was really nice to have some company in the apartment.
It was fun.
It was fun times.
And it was a good help also. It was such a great help for me because I just had started and I was like deer in headlights. And so that was really cool.
We were babies together.
You know why I say we have been babies? Because I still remember you were having a laptop and I was so jealous about it. I think it was the first version of the Apple laptop.
Oh my God, you remember that?
Bluish, see-through thingy. And I was like, oh my God, that is so cool.
Yeah,
and that's why I remember we must have been kittens because that thing is old.
No. We're not that old, Jan.
No, but that thing is old.
I know. I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, it was like, it was a while ago. Let's just put it that way. It was like in 2000. So it's 21 years ago now. It's crazy.
Jesus Christ. Time flies.
Yeah. And it was really fun, I remember, because most of the other people in the cast, especially in the leading roles, were older.
That's true.
So when you came in to play Ludwig, I remember that they paired us up a lot because we were like the younger couple playing Ludwig and Sissy. So do you remember the photo shoot we did for this big, it was like a huge, big billboard thing that was going up in Munich, I think. I will see if I can find a picture of it and I will put it in this video so they can
see. You have it?
Yeah, I do somewhere. Yeah, I'll put it in the video.
Oh my God, I still have a little book with pictures and I was like, oh my God, Jan, you were so young. I still see that I have eggshell on my head.
Oh.
That just cracked out of it.
Yeah, we were really young. It was fun though. I mean, so how was it for you coming into such a big production? Because there was a lot of like technical things and a lot of things with that show. I mean, for people to understand the scope of this production, it was one of the biggest stages I've ever worked on. We had real horses on stage. We had, at the end of the show, Ludwig kills himself by drowning in a lake. And you had to like walk down into the water while singing and then disappear underwater.
Well, first of all, like as a musical singers, we used to have microphones on our head, under our wig, or maybe on the side somewhere. And in that certain scene, I needed to really go into the water because we had water on stage. There was a lift pool that went up when I was supposed to go into the Starnberger See and kill myself. And so technically, I could not have any microphone on me because it would die every time it would go into the water. So we had like microphones set up in front of the stage and I had to go into the water, sing my song, turn around a couple of times and still sing. It was a hard one though. And then just completely dive into the water till you see nothing anymore. And then I had to dive to the side of the stage and then I could go up. And everything you needed to do is to be really slow because of the waves. Nobody should see that you're diving and diving your way out, because it was such a nice picture, such an impressive picture to see the king go into the water and all of a sudden he's just gone. And then you just hear the last music.
There were so many people asking about that, like, is he really going into the water? Is that really happening? And it really was. It's still kind of scary, I suppose, when you go in there and you have to take your last breath before diving under and then go out really slowly. And I mean, it wasn't like 2 meters, it was like 20.
It was a lot. It was, I mean, the stage itself is really massive, like you said. Like, I think it's the biggest turning stage in Europe that has a turntable.
Yeah.
And it was quite a bit of diving I had to do. Scary and fun, but it's like singing. When you sing, you got to breathe, but you got to relax into it. And the same thing is when you have to dive for a longer time, you have to relax.
Yeah.
Take the breath and just go. And you know, when you do it for the first time, of course, everything that happens at the first rehearsal is like, because I was like panicking underwater. It's like, okay, this is really long.
Yeah.
But you do it the second time, the third time, the fourth time, and all of a sudden it is easy.
Yeah.
But you just got to get used to it, and then it's fine. It's no problem.
And then you had people waiting for you for a super quick change because you were all wet to just get, you know, to come back in on stage for the Schlussapplaus, the what do you call it? The
bows.
I'm like, we're in Germany now, so suddenly I don't have an English vocabulary anymore. Yeah, for the final bows.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was crazy.
I think it's still the fastest dress change I had because I was completely soaked. Yeah. So I had to change everything.
Yeah.
And in such a short amount of time, that was always stress.
Yeah.
But I love that moment to go into the water because, first of all, it's quite a refreshment. Sometimes the water was really cold, and it's still like, it's like a little ceremony that you go into the water and the show is over, and then you just quick change, and then you go on stage and say like, voila, we've done it.
Yeah. No, it was one of the most beautiful final pictures of a show. And I would say everything in that show was massive. Like
fountain, even a fountain. Was it also at the end, the fountain?
Yeah.
Or was it? Yeah.
And like my sissy costume, for the big ball, that the first time she comes on stage, that is the heaviest piece of clothing I've ever worn in my entire life. Like, I don't know how many pounds that dress weighed. It was insane. Yeah, but I also remember, like every time coming out in that dress and with the hair and all the stars, there were like, this was a massive theater, over 2,000 people in the audience, and you could hear the whole audience go, whoa. So that was a really, really cool experience. So
yeah, it was the most impressive dresses, the most impressive costumes, and the big king, what is called this coat that I had.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ornamented with gold.
It was amazing.
The most expensive things I've seen on stage ever. The costumes, the whole show, everything, the quality. It was, I've never seen this again. Never.
No.
Never.
And it was really interesting to be part of, as like, I guess it was the first really big job for both of us, because we were just thrown into this thing, and suddenly, there's a whole gift shop outside with your face on mugs, on t-shirts, on, I mean, there were all kinds of merchandise and our faces were all over it, And then you're like, oh, this is what my whole career is going to be like. And then you're like, oh, okay, maybe not.
It is. I talked about this actually a couple of times. And I think one time or one day I I came up with this idea because I realized, or I came to the conclusion that it is quite an honor to be in a production like this, to play a lead role, to be like so exposed to the audience, and to be successful with the show. And I realized actually at one point, wow, in my career, I really started there. And it's hard to beat that.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's hard to beat that because I got really stressed because what am I going to do next?
But you've had an amazing career after Ludwig. I mean, as far as I remember, you went on to do, but I don't know if that was directly after our Ludwig, but you did the next Ludwig production at the same theater.
Yes, that was 3 years, 2.5 years. I was in America, in Los Angeles.
Oh, right.
And then I went back, yes, because that was the first audition I did when I came back to Germany.
So what did you do in America? I know you went there and did a lot of acting classes and stuff like that. Do you want to talk about Los Angeles a bit?
Los Angeles is wonderful and it's scary at the same time because I never felt so European. I felt like, oh my God, so there is a difference. There is a difference. I couldn't imagine that there would be, but you feel it. Because I think in Europe, we have borders, we had wars, we had all those thingies that America didn't have. You know, of course, when America started to be found and everything, yes, there was trouble. But we had over hundreds of years and years and years, we had wars all over. So we've been there, done that, got the T-shirt and the hat, and we learned. And in America, it's a different. I love it. I mean, I loved Los Angeles, and I loved to be there. But I was also overwhelmed with feeling different, and I had the feeling I didn't fit in quite a lot. But maybe because I was also very young. I mean, I was 24. Yes, I was around 24, 25, and it was, I was overwhelmed, and I'm one of those who's easily overwhelmed because I'm very hypersensitive, and that might be a good thing, but in the most time, it's a bad thing because it just overwhelms me. So being sensitive means that you feel sometimes too much, and you don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, and having been in Los Angeles a lot myself, I can relate to what you're saying, because I would say one of the biggest things I realized coming over there was just the cultural difference of, I mean, Americans can be very overwhelming in the way they self-promote and talk about themselves, and you think that
you put it in the right way.
And everyone, I mean, I felt like everyone is so much better than me. Why am I even here? You know, because that's how they come across, and that's how they talk about themselves.
That's exactly it. I couldn't put my finger on it, but what you say, it's exactly the feeling you get.
Yeah.
I'm just not good enough.
I'm not good. I must be terrible. And, you know, like, and I'm not saying that the American way is a bad way. It's just something that you have to learn coming from Europe. And once I spent a lot of time in Los Angeles and New York as well, you start to learn how that works, and you can sort of sort through, you know, everything that's thrown at you and figure out what's real and what's not real, and also get better at talking about yourself, I feel. So that's something that I've learned, because in Sweden, at least, you're not really allowed to talk about yourself in an overly positive way. You know, you have to be very modest and careful with how you talk about yourself and what you've done, etc.
I think also it's because in America, when you go to school, I think everything is a little bit more competitive, and it's promoted that way. And it has very, very many benefits, because you learn to fight and you learn how to stand for yourself and you learn that it's good to overcome something as in competition, for example. So you get a good tool to really run through walls and to really get and to aim for what you want. And I was overwhelmed with that because I'm very self-critique. I have a lot of self-critique, and I feel humble. I'm like, okay. And actually you should go and do what you want and be proud about it and be forward about it. But I could never do that. I'm just not that type of person.
Yeah, I think I've gotten better at it thanks to being in America a lot. But they have sort of this. It's something they've been growing up with. It's in their culture, so obviously they're gonna. It's more natural to them. But I felt like that was one of the biggest things when I came to Los Angeles. I thought everyone was a superstar because that's the way they talked about themselves.
Yeah, and they look sometimes that way. I'm like, Jesus. I mean, I went to auditions and I had casting in Castaway Studios, Los Angeles. And I went for one role and there were 200 people looking 3 times as good and completely stunning. And I was standing there like, I want to go home. There's no way I'm going to get this job.
Yeah.
And for me, it was training.
Yeah.
And that's why I went to castings, and that's why I went to auditions, just training. It's like how to present yourself and how do you feel about it? How do you go into that moment when there are people standing and looking at you, maybe on the telephone, completely not interested in who you are and what you do, because they see with a glimpse, oh no, he's the guy. And so they're like, So it's really interesting how to deal with that situation and not to take it personally.
Yeah. And I think, a place like Los Angeles or New York or London, there are so many things going on all the time that you get a lot of training because you can go to a lot of auditions in the same week. Whereas at least Sweden is a very small country. So, you might have a few castings or auditions per year. Like there's not so much going on that you get called in for auditions all the time. So it's a really good training ground and good experience to do that.
And and I don't want to miss it because I learned a lot. I learned a lot, and I had a wonderful time there, but also a time where I had to reflect a lot about myself. And so that's also why I was there, to find that out. Like, okay, well, maybe I got to learn something here because I'm getting insecure, and okay, so your self-esteem isn't that good as you thought it would be. So maybe that is a little chapter in your book of life that you need to rewrite.
Right.
Find your path.
Yeah. And then you got back to Germany, and that's when you got into the second production of Ludwig.
Yes.
So what happened at that theater is that they closed down the Ludwig production that we were both in. It was actually more like an opera, to be fair.
That's why I came there, classically trained. And I thought, like, what could I do? And I auditioned for that musical because it was new and they looked for classical singers.
Right. Yeah. And then the second Ludwig production, as far as I've been able to figure out, it was more musical theater.
Yes. Yeah, it was more legit musical. It was more commercial style musical, and it was very well done. And the funny thing is, I still play it every once in a while. I'm still playing the king. Yeah, I'm still part of Füssen, of Neuschwanstein.
I haven't been there since the day I left that theater and drove off in my little car back to Sweden. I haven't been back. But I've actually thought about taking my kids there because it's so beautiful, and it would also be, a trip down memory lane to go back to see the theater.
Oh yeah,
the castle, all that.
Every time I go to Füssen, my heart is just like, it all started here. The things that you resist to when you start your career in this paradise, mountains, the Neuschwanstein Castle, beautiful sights everywhere, and it's like a fairy tale. And then you work there, you get used to it, and then you work somewhere else, and then you work here and there in Essen and Dresden, wherever you do, or in Berlin, and then you go back to Füssen and you realize, wow, I've been in paradise for that time.
Yeah.
And you cherish it. I promise you, the next time you go there, you will be like, oh my God, so many memories, but it's also so beautiful. I mean, when I'm there, I'm on the bike, I go hiking, I go see things, and it's amazing.
It's really, really beautiful. I don't think that I realized it at the time when I was there. Because,
exactly, that's why.
You know, I was so young and I had so many dreams and so many things I wanted to do. And, you know, Füssen at that time also felt obviously very small and closed in. And, you know, there was not much to do when you weren't working. Because, I mean, not that I would have gone skydiving or any mountain climbing, but there was like so many things we weren't allowed to do because, you know, they didn't want us to injure ourselves so that we couldn't play. But so Füssen was, at that time, for me at least, just work. And I mean, I was there for 1.5 years, and I don't know, I think I probably would have appreciated it more now. But, you know, being the first job and the first thing, you know, you don't know how spoiled you are. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. And every time I go there, I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful that I can go back to that place and see more and enjoy more and be grateful to be there. That's the trick part when you're really, really young and you start on a good note in your career. We're all so greedy, but we're not grateful enough for that moment because it's hard, because we're just started. We started on point A and we want to go to point D, and we have our stations in between, but this is the start. So we can't say, well, this is it.
No.
This is the woohoo. This is
is the Greek restaurant still there?
Yes, it is.
Really?
It is. Yeah.
Oh my God, we have to go there at some point.
It is.
I remember that restaurant. They had amazing food. Yeah.
It didn't change a lot. Füssen didn't change a lot. That's the great thing about like little city like that in the mountains.
Yeah. After the second Ludwig production, I mean, you've done so many things. You did Beast in Beauty and the Beast. And I know that one of your really big successes was playing Krolok in Tanz der Vampire. And do you want to talk about some of these bigger roles that you've done? And is there anyone in particular that you feel like, you know, have really sort of taken you to the next level as far as, you know, either singing or acting or getting into musical theater more than classical singing, etc.?
Well, I think every role that you play on the timeline of your career, you expand and widen your toolbox that you get if you're aware. And I think that is the thing that is most important, that you never stop learning, you never stop trying to grow and to get better and to be better. I really learned that right now at the moment on doing television, because every word has no sound here. It's not on a big legato bow. I'm not singing.
Right.
So like my brain is completely like, oh Lord, I'm just talking. So learning the text and learning the content of the text and what you're supposed to say and mean, it has a different intention, and it has also, it's more the real life. And I have to activate a different center here in my brain. It's maybe this side, and before that it was the other side. So it's interesting to grow through this and to accept that I have to learn 60 pages a week.
So what are you playing now? Like, I'm lost here. What are you doing? You're currently doing...
I'm doing a daily soap, and that's aired every day on television on RTL.
What are you playing?
I'm a big old role that was 20 years ago. It was the first, or 25 years ago. It was the character who started the series, and he's coming back after 20 years because he was there 5 years, and after 20 years I come back. So I'm 20 years older. So which is a great benefit because I'm not replacing someone in that age or with the same face. They're 20 years in between. So it feels a little bit better to replace that first character, but with that time frame in between.
Oh, okay.
So, and I'm coming from the Maldives, and I was a scuba dive teacher.
Of course you were.
I was an ex-cop, and I go with my wife. I go back to Cologne. And I'm trying to go back and reach my family and try to connect again or reconnect. And this is my entry month here, and I'm deer in headlights again, one more time.
Well, I think that's one of the wonderful things about our profession, though, because it's all about growing and evolving and learning new things. And I've spoken to so many performers, actors, singers, both on this Tocca Talks show, but over the years, and the older ones, they always say, like, if I get offered a part and it doesn't scare me, I don't want to do it. So I think that's the thing. To keep growing as an actor or as a performer, you have to push the boundaries and what you're comfortable with, so if something doesn't scare you, it's probably not worth doing because it's not going to expand you. You know what I mean?
That's absolutely. You got to leave comfort zone in order to expand. And that is crucial for younger colleagues of ours. That is to accept this challenge, because it's also the challenge of life. It's not even in our job. I mean, our job is very close to our ambitions in life because it's something that we want to be good at.
Yeah.
And it's not something I do every day, and I finish it every day the same time and the same way, and it's done. It's always like the wish and the want to progress. And I think life is equivalent. You can be as ambitious with your life, but it also means you have to be able to reflect.
Yeah, and you have to be willing to grow and see other possibilities. And sometimes I feel like what I call civilian people, meaning people who are not in our profession, not everyone obviously, but sometimes they get stuck in a rut of, like, this feels comfortable, this feels safe, and this is where I'm going to stay. And, this is just the way things are. And look, and I think that's the wonderful thing about our profession, that we are constantly put in situations where you have to decide to jump off the cliff.
Yeah, we struggle our way through it.
And I'm super scared so often when I have, like, oh my God, I was so scared of doing Francesca in Bridges of Madison County, for example, because suddenly even though I did the musical, you're still stepping into somehow the shoes of Meryl Streep, because that's the person everyone has seen in the film.
That's a good note, yeah.
Yeah. And I think I received the best review for me in my entire career when one of the Swedish magazines said something like, that I lived up to the expectations of someone who's going to step into Meryl Streep's shoes. And I think, for me, that was insane.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, I can die now. So that was fun.
But I completely understand that, because when you get a good critique and you get this this positive feedback, because we also live through negative feedbacks. We have been, I think we have been really lucky because there are bad reviews about a show, but I was very lucky that I never got a really bad one on my behalf, how the way I acted or whatever. Maybe I got a couple, but it's just, you know, it's toilet paper.
Yeah.
But I think that it's very interesting what you said about like being compared to that person and to try to fit into that shoes of, for instance, Meryl Streep. For me, it was like the Count Krolok and Tanz der Vampire and Dance of the Vampires. I mean, it was Polanski at first, you know, that you're scared of because that's a big name. And he's a big director. And I met him once on the audition and then never again. But the character who played Krolok was Steve Barton. And musically, as a musical singer, he was my idol.
Yeah.
He was my absolute, like Steve Barton, he's still, for me, the one. He was a good dancer. He was a terrific singer. He had this certain sound and the way he produced his notes and also word and sound density, even though he was singing in German, being an American, he was doing it perfect. He was playing that character so wonderfully that I was scared that I can't fit those shoes. But in the same time, I said like, well, you know what? Yes, I will play that role. I'm going to do my best. And but I keep that in mind. I keep in mind that there is Steve Barton, that there will never be another one. It's always going to be him I'm going to be compared to.
Yeah.
And if somebody says, Barbara, you're not Steve Barton, I said, no, I'm not. I'm not. And it's good. But I love Steve Barton. And I really try to respect what he did because he left a big, what's it called when you leave something behind and somebody has to pick it up, an erbe.
I know what you mean.
Inherit. You have to inherit it for some heritage. You have to responsibility to work with what he left and not trashing and ruining it by doing it completely different.
No, but you still have to find your own way. So, I mean, you know, your own version of it. I mean, there's no way I could walk into Bridges of Madison County thinking that I'm gonna copy Meryl Streep. Obviously not. The same thing when you play, you know, a lot of these shows that have been running for a long time, you know, like I did Christine in Phantom of the Opera. I will never be a new Sarah Brightman, or I will never be a Sierra Boggess, but I will be Viktoria Tocca, and Viktoria Tocca's version of Christine. And it's really nice that you mentioned that inheritance, because you have to respect the people that came before you and bring that in a loving way with you into this role, but then you have to still make it your own.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, you have to care for that treasure that you were given, but in the same time, you have to be yourself with it.
Right.
And that is your responsibility to explore and to grow and to fall on your face and to get up and say, well, that was wrong. Yeah. I'm going to do it better next time.
Yeah. So how long did you play, or how long did you play Tanz der Vampire?
A lot. Long times. Oh God, I mean, 1,500 shows, the least.
Yeah.
I did play 2 years, 3 years, 1 year, 1.5, 2 years in Oberhausen, 1 year in Stuttgart. Then I did it in Berlin, in Munich, and in Stuttgart again. So that was quite a lot. And
so is that the part that you've done the most?
I'd say Ludwig for some reason, because if I combine those two shows, like the first Ludwig and the second Ludwig, which, you know, then it might be that I played more Ludwig shows because I'm still doing it.
Right.
And I quit Krolok, I quit Tanz der Vampire, and I did Tarzan and Rebecca And now my most favorite, what I did last time was Dr. Zhivago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was just amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So do you have any like dream roles still on your bucket list that you would like to cross off?
Yeah, I just lost one. That was my biggest dream, Sweeney Todd. And I got it for the Opera Leipzig. And I got it. And it was in January. And of course, it got postponed, then canceled, postponed, canceled. And then I got the offer for television. And I'm not sure if I can say it, but I was getting in trouble. Because if you don't work for a year.
Yeah, no one can not work for a year. So when you say get in trouble, was it like financially you were starting to
getting tight. Yeah. It was getting really tight. And I mean, we're musical singers. It always looks like we're the stars and we're going to be rich forever. No. And so as a musical singer, you work and you get good money, but it's not that much that you can live off it for years and do nothing.
No.
So I must say, I was getting a little scared.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I was hoping I used this pandemic as a positive thing. I used this pandemic for something that maybe gives me an opportunity to grow and to change my angle, to change my perspective.
Yeah, or just gives you like another leg to stand on.
Yes.
Because I'm assuming you haven't given up on musical theater or live performance. It's just right now you can't do it, but so you've grown your toolkit.
Yeah, and there are two signs in Chinese. There are two signs for the word crisis. So it's two signs for that one word. And one sign says danger, and the other sign says opportunity. And that combined is called crisis. And when I take this, I said, yes, we are at danger at the moment, but it's also, on the other hand, an opportunity for you to adapt and to move out of your comfort zone and to maybe change or maybe reconstruct your train of thought that has been given to you for such a long time. Maybe I move on and do something that I always wanted to do. Maybe I feel stuck. For instance, maybe I feel stuck doing musical. Maybe I feel stuck doing this thing all over again, like for 8 shows a week to do that. And I'm over 40. Is it? Am I going to do it forever? No, I'm not. Am I really happy with it? 8 shows a week? It's fun. Yes, but there's life in between. And I feel
and I mean, you have a son as well, right?
Yeah. And that gap of life is really small when you do 8 shows a week. And I must say, I wanted something different. And I had a private collapse in that time. In those 8 years of my career, my private life collapsed. I mean, it's below zero. And I had to regain strength. And I had to realize what war field I was on and how to recover and to find maybe my arm and my hand and get that all together and stitch it back on my body, because I realized I felt like I lost a lot. I lost a lot of life. I had lots of conflicts. I had lots of conflicts with myself because my life situation was for over a decade. No, it was a decade. It was very difficult. And now I try to open up again, but that also means to open up again means you have to see also your mistakes and things you do. It's like that's what I said. It's like your job. When you do something wrong and you cack on a high note, then find a way to sing it better. Or if you act something and it comes out wrong for the director, and he says like, don't do it. You look like an idiot when you do it. But I think it's good. But what you think, I don't care. I see you and it looks hideous. So learn from that. And I did a lot of hideous things because I thought I did the right thing, but not obviously I didn't, because I didn't change. I couldn't adapt in my private life, so I did mistakes. And
I think we all do. It's not easy, and especially being in our business, it's hard. I mean, I do admire the people that can handle it all. You know, I mean, I'm divorced now, which, you know, it's always sad when you have children and it doesn't work out. But in this particular instance, it was for the best. We're still good friends. We're still good parents to our children.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, that train hit me too, but I was not married. But the problem is it's very conflicted, and that makes it really, really hard because I'm longing for my boy.
Yeah. How old is your son now?
11.
Oh.
Yeah, and I haven't seen him for quite a while. Oh. And it's difficult. And, you know, I know he's going to grow up, and maybe there's peace. Maybe there's something like a healthy connection again. But it isn't at the moment, and it's something I'm struggling to. But see, that crisis is also an opportunity to refocus and regain strength.
We make mistakes, and I think the people who are gonna go forward, you know, in the end and elevate are the people who are willing to admit their mistakes and work on them and try to do better. That's all you can do. The problem are the people who get stuck and keep doing the same mistakes all over again or over and over and choose not to work on it. You know what I mean? So I'm proud of you. So do you have any funny stories? I mean, obviously, you know, having played, you know, over 1,500 shows of Tanz der Vampire, I'm sure that people are interested in hearing like funny things that happened on stage, stuff that went wrong. I mean, I tell stories all the time in these talks, and one of my favorite stories, I don't know why it came to mind now, but one of my favorite stories from a colleague was, he was my Raoul in Phantom. And straight after that, he went into Miss Saigon as Chris. And one night when he was in the helicopter, and, you know, he can't get Kim on the helicopter, and he's like at the helicopter, on the helicopter, and he takes off, and he's supposed to scream, you know, like Kim, and he's on the helicopter, and he's like, Christine, and she's like, wrong lady. It's so funny. Like, what?
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
I mean, it's like, how do you save that? Because it's like you scream. I mean, he's supposed to like, Kim, but he went, Christine.
Let's talk about patterns for a second.
Woo, panic mode. So any fun stories you want to share from your Tanz der Vampire experience?
Well, I'm the kind of guy who always has problems with tight jeans because they always explode. Like every time I bend, they like pop. And I mean, there's like spandex, and they're like really nicely done because like the Count of Krolok, he has black tight jeans, not tight jeans, tight pants, and they look rather impressive because of the lighting and everything. So the Count looks really manly. But the thing is, as soon as I bend on stage or I go on my knees, most of the time my pants crack. I think it has something to do with my behind, but I don't know why it always happens to me. And yeah, that is very awkward because I had to stay on stage. Or something happens when I'm in my garderobe, so I'm chit-chatting with a mask, with hair and makeup, and it's the intermission. So I'm fixing my nails because I have really long nails and black hands and they look all skeletal, whatever. And I'm just doing my hands here and I'm talking about the makeup and everything. All of a sudden, I hear the music. And I was like, well, that's odd because I'm actually supposed to be on stage now.
This sounds like you, to be fair, though.
But they forgot me because I got no 5-minute call. I got no standby call, nothing. They just forgot me. They thought I'm on that staircase, but I wasn't. I was the fastest vampire in the history of vampires. I mean, I was like running. And of course, what did I do? I forgot my coat.
Oh no.
So I was like, I felt quite naked up there and doing this whole total eclipse of the heart thing.
Yeah.
With Sarah without my cape.
Oh no. Oh. Awkward.
Yeah, but that happens.
Yeah.
Or I go on stage with my teeth, with my fangs.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed not to.
Oh.
Because in the moment when the professor and Alfred, they come to the castle, and I step in front of the castle and say, hello, who are you? So I invite you to come in, please, blah, blah, blah. But I come out with my fangs out.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, shit. They should know that I'm a vampire, but anyways, try to hide it.
I'm not a vampire.
Yeah.
Okay,
things like that. Those things happen to me all the time.
And you've played with a whole bunch of Sarahs then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I survived them.
You survived all the Sarahs, the tiny belters.
Yeah, the tiny belters. I survived them all, yeah.
And yeah, apparently, did they all survive you?
Yes, yeah. I was very kind. Some were they were a little hurt because I sometimes really bite with the teeth, and sometimes it really hurts.
That's
like, that hurts, dude. Stop it.
Stop. Yeah, well, you actually came to Sweden to be part of my show.
Yes.
And
that was exciting.
That was so much fun. So Jan came to Sweden to be part of, I think it was like the second year we did From Broadway to Duvemåla. I can't really remember. But the first time you were there was for the first album that we made. So for the album release concert, you were there. And I actually have a video of that on my YouTube channel when we sing From Elizabeth together.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. And the funny thing is
I just recently listened to the song we recorded. Since you spoke my name. Yeah, I was like, that's damn good.
That's actually a nice song.
Yeah. I always need time to re-listen to something.
Yeah. Yeah, I will put the links in the description of this video for the duet that we did since, what was it called again? I wrote the song, damn it.
You just spoke my name?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put that link in the description below if you want to hear our duet that we did together. And we also did like a really fun photo shoot in Stockholm for that single. And I mean, we've done a bunch of things together.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so you were on our tour. It was me, Laila, Adele.
And Jesper Tidin.
Yes, Jesper Tidin. Then it must have been Daniel as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was the four of us, and then you were on as sort of a guest star.
Yes.
And then we had some of our younger performers that had received the scholarship. So I think Hannah was on. Was there any...
No, I think that Hannah, and then I think that was all.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, but that was so much fun, though.
It was scary for me.
Really?
It was scary because it was like we went from theater to theater, and I saw so many theaters. I mean, it was amazing. It was an amazing time, but also those singers. I mean, Layla and Daniel, all those singing. I mean, it was so good.
Thank you for saying that.
I really felt the pressure. I was like, oh shit, man. I gotta step up to the plate here, and that's hard.
It is hard, but you know, like the whole point of From Broadway to Duvemåla is that, I mean, to get on that show, you have to be an incredibly good singer, because that's the whole idea of the show.
That's the point of it.
That's the point of it. That it's.
I felt the pressure.
Oh, good. So, but I'm really happy to hear you say that, because obviously I admire you as a performer and as a singer, and for me to hear that you also experienced that, you know, we had really
I was really
singers
impressed
on the show. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. I mean, Jesus, all of them. The thing, there's not even one where I say like, oh, wow, it's really good. All of them were really like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So the pressure is on. So
yeah, and it's funny because, you know, most of the people that are on that show are not super famous in Sweden. I mean, we've all become known because of the show, but we weren't super famous in Sweden before doing this production. So most of the audience didn't know what to expect when they came into the theater or the concert halls to see it. And a lot of them have described to us afterwards, like it felt almost like getting hit by a truck over and over and over again, because, you know, there's like not one number where you're like fully relaxing and going like, okay, because it's like
one hammer.
It's just like, yeah, a lot of amazing singing happening for like an hour and a half. And now did we even have an intermission when you were on the show? No, because now the show is longer, so we have an intermission now, so it's like 2 parts now. So it's grown and it's evolved and it's become bigger. So last year was supposed to be our 5-year anniversary, but you know, then COVID happened and now we're not doing anything. So we'll see when we'll be up and running.
That puts a break on quite a lot of things. Yeah.
Do you have any idea? We were talking about dream roles that you might still have, and you know, do you have like a long contract for this TV show now, so that if the theaters start opening up again, you won't be able to do Sweeney Todd? Or
well, it depends. I mean, my contract is at least a year. Option longer. Well, we'll see. But I'm going to be here for a while. But I'm going to be able to do concerts. I'm going to be able to do shows. But of course, a long-run musical will be now at the moment more difficult. But well, at the moment there's nothing happening, and exactly. I cannot imagine that that's going to change within the next month.
No,
it's going to be for quite a while. And so I'm incredibly lucky and incredibly grateful and thankful that I got this opportunity and I got this role. And it's a lot of fun. And I'm learning so much. And that's why I'm so like, I wanted it. I wanted to learn more. And I wanted to grow. And I get the opportunity. And I'm learning so much about television. It's mind-blowing. And so I'm so thankful. And I hope I can be a part of TV. And I hope I still can be a part of music or a musical theater. And I think it's going to be possible.
Yeah, and a lot of people do
everything. At the moment, I'm catching the wave, and I'm happy that I'm on one. And it's a big one, because I get to grow, and I get to experience things I've never experienced. And I'm over 40. It's like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not the fastest learner at the moment. Oh, no, wait a minute. It's just a lot of input I get, and I cherish and appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
So what is the name of the show?
It's called Unter uns.
Unter uns. Yeah. I think I remember this. This show has been on for like forever. Ages. Yeah.
25, 27 years.
Oh, that's so exciting.
I know, I'm so nervous. Oh God.
Don't be nervous. It's going to be fine. So this might be like your first interview that comes out along the...
Sort of, yeah.
Maybe. We'll see. Well, I wish you all the best with this TV show and everything. And I will put all your information, your social media handles, anything that you might need to find Jan Ammann on social media in the description below. If you want to ask us any questions, feel free to comment and leave your questions in the comments. I will definitely answer, and I will force Jan to do the same because I do hold some stuff over his head. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. I love you. No. So, but if you want to ask any questions or have comments, please post them below. I will for sure answer. Hopefully Jan might stop by and answer questions if you have any. And yeah, thank you so much for being part of Tocca Talk.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. Bye, sweetie.
Bye.